Hey everybody, Stu Smith here going live. Terribly sorry for going early, but I have a lot of stuff I need to get done today, and a 9:30 appointment is one of them. So I had forgotten about this. I would have announced it yesterday. So hopefully there will be people that pop on here. If not, I will just pretend and you guys can watch this later. As you saw the title, I wrote an article today and it should be out tomorrow over on military.com. But it was probably a really common question that a lot of people have. They're doing the Navy PST, the swim, push ups, sit ups, pull ups, mile and a half run, and they are not good at running and swimming. Typical strength athlete, maybe you just never swum before or you're not used to running anything longer than 100 yards because that's your sport. Very similar to my story. Um, but anyway, but both of his PT scores are great, but his cardio scores are 11:30 each, right? For your 500-yard swim and your mile and a half run. So, what do you do? He asks, should I focus more on running and swimming workouts and stop lifting and doing calisthenics? So, he's thinking, do I just do cardio? My answer to that is yes, stop lifting. If you really want to focus on this PST, focus on what you need to focus on. Now, you can maintain your cows and calisthenic scores, mixed it with cardio, it's no big deal. My advice is just do your cardio first so you can really focus all your energy on that cardio and then do your calisthenics. Now, once you've kind of built up some volume in your swimming and running, then you can start arranging your workouts to look like a PST. So swim first, mix in calisthenics during the swim even. Something I love to do is swim PT, where you swim a couple hundred yards, hop out, push ups, sit ups. We even put a pull up bar on our pool deck. It's awesome. Great little way to crush those three exercises mixed with swimming. Then, uh, you can go and add more calisthenics mixed with running. And next thing you know, you're getting a whole lot better at that PST because you're learning how to do all of it together. I think where a lot of people screw up is they just run or they run first or swim first and then they do their calisthenics only, not mixing it all together. So they don't really learn how to make those transitions from a really hard swim into a high rep calisthenics phase and then transition into a run and do just as well as if they hadn't done a run, a swim, or calisthenics before. So there's the transition period that's involved that I would highly recommend. If you haven't seen PFT transition, it's an old school article, but it's all here linked into what I call the PST clinic. If you haven't seen the PST clinic, I'd highly recommend you reading this because this is how I break down coaching crushing a PST. And it's just an article, free article, but it has some great strategy to really doing well on the PST because it is a test that you need to practice. And if the first time you ever are taking a PST is with a recruiter, you're behind the eight ball. You should be practicing this thing, preparing for this thing for months. The last thing you want to do is go show up at a recruiter's office trying to get a contract and you fail the PST. You think anybody's taking you seriously at that point? No. You're just another wannabe that is, for the most part, um, not going to be able to improve in time to one, get a contract, or two, prepare yourself properly for the selection that you're going to endure, because this PST is not just for buds, it's for SWIC, it's EOD, it's diver, it's rescue swimmer. Also, SARC has to take this PST. So if you're going Navy spec ops, any of the jobs in that world, you got to crush this PST. And trust me, being able to do it long before you go talk to a recruiter is just the smartest thing to do. I promise you. So yes, lay off the weights, get into calisthenics and cardio. Muscle stamina and endurance go hand in hand. Now, we'll say this: if you're a strength athlete, you probably don't need to lift a whole lot of weights prior to going to buds. However, if you're an endurance athlete who just has been doing long, slow stuff, so you need to speed up your distance, or you need to speed up your pace on these shorter runs and swims, probably won't take very long for you to do that since you're kind of in that zone already. Calisthenics will improve really quickly as well, but there's probably an underlying strength weakness in an endurance athlete that you have to answer. So you may need to be in the weight room preparing to get through the selection that's going to require rucking, fireman carries, load bearing with logs and boats, and all those things, because that is where the endurance athlete has their weaknesses, whereas the strength athlete will have their weaknesses with some cardiovascular event, which occur every week at Budge. You have 2 mile swims and 4 mile runs. So, yeah, sorry I'm early today, Alex. I got stuff to do. But yeah, there's some great swim workouts in this one. In fact, let me share the um, website where you can find all my military.com articles. I don't always post these on my stewsmithfitness.com site because military.com pays me to write these articles. So they're their articles, but I'm happy to discuss them because, especially this one, is really important. And it's all military fitness over there at military.com. But yeah, common question, 50-50 workouts. That's going to help improve once you learn your technique. We got to work on your conditioning, which is very common, and then work on your goal pace running so you can, run. If you're running an 11-minute run right now or 11:30, I would say your next goal should be a 10:30 mile and a half, which means that's a 7-minute mile. So all your quarter miles are going to be at 145. All your um, half miles going to be at 3:30. And then let's say you get to that, you've reached that goal. Now drop that time another minute. That's your new goal pace, which should be a 9:30, which is going to get you in that 135 range for a quarter, 315, no, 310. Yeah, 310 for a half mile. And yeah, 615 roughly on the mile pace. So you got to learn those paces and then run that run. Every lap is that goal pace. Now, some people like to negative split the back half of it. I'm personally not very good at doing that, especially after doing a swim, your pull-ups, push-ups, your sit-ups. You've burned a lot of glycogen out. Most people bonk on the run. They just get slower on the back half because they need fuel. So I would highly recommend putting some Gatorade or some sugar in your water for sure, because you need that extra carbohydrate on that back end, especially when you're going anaerobic. So um, that's goal pace running. So you can look that up if you are not familiar with what goal pace running is. It's just what I call learning your pace, muscle memory, that pace, and then going from there and applying it to whatever run you're trying to do. Is it a 3-mile run? Is it a 4-mile run? A 5-mile run? Learn your pace, run your race. That's a good one. Remember that one. All right. So let's see. Optimal body fat percentage for someone going to spec ops training. I've seen it all over the place. Um, I was pretty lean when I went. I was under 10, but we had a few guys that were like 5 or 6. They froze their ass off, really. And then we had some dudes that were 15, 20%, almost kind of chubby. They did not freeze. But they had a harder time with that extra weight doing other things. Running was a challenge for them. Obstacle course was a challenge for them. Um, I had some decent muscle mass, so I wasn't really negatively affected by the cold. But I also was a little bit on the heavier side. 6 feet, 195, 200. Was not huge, but it was extra weight that I was glad I had, but it didn't make running easier for me. But I mean, I've seen guys that are 220 that can run 6-minute miles all day. So, maybe it's a myth that running slows you down. Just depends on how good your VO2 max is. Some of those heavyweight crew guys, man, they get in, they get the buds, and they're like 6'4", 220, 225, can crank out 30 pull-ups and run 6-minute miles all day. Sub 6. It's ridiculous. Now, most of them can't bench press their body weight. It's just a pulling weakness or pushing weakness that most rowers have. But we all come into this journey with some kind of weakness. I don't think body fat percentage is really going to be one of them necessarily, unless it's on the far end of the extreme. If it's less than 5, yes, that's way not enough. If it's, I don't know, over 20, absolutely, probably too much. Are there any clear signs new running shoes are causing additional soreness? I'm not sure what you're asking, but it could. Yeah, I found a few running shoes that were not helpful for me. Um, just didn't fit me well. So, and sometimes new shoes are a little soft. I don't know if you've noticed, um, and it feels like you're walking on like a cushion sometimes. And I have found over the years that I don't really like that cushion. I'd prefer it to be a little bit more stable, so it doesn't feel like I'm sinking in sand when uh, when I'm running. So that can cause some soreness as well. But having no cushion could also cause soreness. So you got to find the ones that work for you. I have found those on clouds to be very nice. Um, but I also run in zero shoes, which as long as I'm on softer ground, I can do it on dirt, I can do it on track, turf, those type of uh, surfaces, but running on concrete or asphalt with zero drop, you know, I got them on right now. So with these zero shoes, there's nothing to those. Um, Great lifting shoes, and they're great running shoes too. I prefer not to do them on concrete. So I've been using the ultras this summer, and I like those a lot. ALTRA ultras. Let's see. I'm 6'1", 165. I train Muay Thai. All right. 2 hours a day before my lift, swims and runs. Would you recommend less volume to focus on buds prep, PST scores, or low end of competitive? Um, well, here's the deal. At some point, you're going to have to start taking your training seriously. And what I mean by that is if you're doing things that can potentially injure you 6 months out before you join, you're not taking this seriously. And what I mean by that is, yes, you can get yourself hurt with Muay Thai. You can kick something and break your shin. You can, you know, dislocate a joint, whatever, break a fist. I've seen it happen. And I have multiple issues with people doing contact sports, even triathlons, unless they go off of bikes, street bikes, road bikes, and they do stationary bikes instead. Just because I've seen countless people wreck on their bike. Because what happens to a triathlete on a bike? They get hit by a car or they crash. It's one of the potential dangers that happen. And then what happens? What happens to all these guys is they have to get surgery, so it delays their ability to go into the military. Now you got to get a medical waiver because you had a surgery. It could be so serious that you lose your opportunity to join the military at all. If you're lucky, it just delays it 6 months. Um, but if you do anything that's going to affect your training for months at a time, you're not taking your journey seriously. So if you're trying to focus on the buds PST, like I just started at the beginning of this show, you should focus on the buds PST. Your workout should look like the buds PST. 2 hours a day of training and lifting, training martial arts and lifting does not look like the buds PST. It's just a fact. So, my advice: sometimes the truth hurts. You got to figure out what's up. How bad do you want it? You're not going to get accepted into this program unless you pass this fitness test, and you're not going to get through the training if you're constantly injured and you can't uh, ruck, you can't swim, you can't swim with fins, you can't do high rep calisthenics. And yes, you need to lift, especially looking 6'1", 165. I was 30 pounds heavier than you, going through buds, and I was not crushed under a log. You may be a wiry, strong guy, which I've seen guys do fine under logs and boats at your weight, but you may want to put on 10, 15 pounds just to be a little more durable. But if you want to crush the PST first, you should focus on the PST. Then go into a lift cycle, maintain your PST scores during that lift cycle. In order to become a SEAL, do I need to go through the Navy boot camp first? No, they just take anybody off the street and send you to buds. What the hell? Come on. Of course you do. You have to be in the Navy to go through SEAL training. Man, I don't even know what to say to that question. Anybody got any others? I don't want to end on that one. Let me show some videos. How's that? We'll do that. Show some videos. So, uh, let's go to here because I'm going to show you a back-to-back swim. Same guy working on his stroke. So as you know what the combat swimmer stroke is, top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold the glide. There's no glide. He's kind of gliding with that bottom arm. That's an awkward turnaround. Double arm pull is kind of weird. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold the glide. There's no glide really there. Kind of a glide here, but not here. Um, yeah, so this is a side stroke. It's perfectly passable. Um, just not very good. I mean, you're looking at 56 seconds, so it's pretty inefficient for the most part. But let me show you this one. This is him again a few weeks later. And I just posted this yesterday up on TikTok and Reels. And this is him coming to visit, cleaned up a few things, top arm, bottom arm, kick, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. Look at that. See the glide? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. And he went from 56 seconds to about 46 seconds. And look at that. It looks so much cleaner than what he was doing. And he can maintain this pace for a whole swim. Hope you guys can see that. Yeah, good. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. I would say he probably needs to work on his shoulder mobility a little bit because he gets a little tired and drops his shoulders during his glide a little bit. But that's huge improvement. Nice. So he basically went from a glide like this, almost like the elementary side stroke, to a glide like this, which is the combat swimmer stroke. Makes a big difference in learning difference. In fact, let's show it. In fact, this is a good little video here. It's kind of quick, but I can replay it multiple times here. Let's see, window, boom. All right, so we got the CSS on the top. We'll look at that one first, and then we will look at the elementary side stroke second. So tell me if you see a difference. So top is top arm, bottom arm, kick, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. Look at that glide. Nice. All right, so let's look at the elementary side stroke, which is a little bit more what he was doing. See where the glide is with the bottom arm out? That's not as efficient as this glide up here. You know, it's effective. It's just not as efficient. You know, if we were to count strokes across the pool, he's doing twice as many as I am up at the top. So why do we use the CSS versus elementary side stroke? It's more efficient, basically. But you can use either. You know, if you don't feel like learning the CSS, you can use the elementary side stroke if you want. In fact, I've seen a guy do the elementary side stroke and break 7 minutes before, but he was a swimmer and water polo player and learned how to streamline decades before taking this fitness test. So definitely a swimmer. Let's see. Today was leg day for us. We made hills much harder. We ran hills like this today. So how do you make running a hill harder? You put somebody on your back, and you run up that hill. It's a 1/4 mile hill. And that's a beast. Then what do you do next? You put on a pair of fins and you swim with fins. You can do this one or two ways. We got a couple of guys that are going Air Force. So one of the types of swims they use is called lead arm, trail arm. This is right off my TikTok page and it's on my reels as well. So CSS with fins up at the top, just constant flutter kicks, and you use your arms to breathe. So you can see the difference between CSS without fins and CSS with fins. You just do one kick, but with fins, you just keep on flutter kicking, right? Usually get a little dolphin kick off the wall and just start kicking. Now, I don't know if you guys can see the guy at the bottom. Let me see if I can get this off out of the way here. Come on. Anyway, you can see what he's doing on the bottom. He is just kicking on his side. And he doesn't use his arms at all. This is called lead arm, trail arm. And the lead arm is the bottom and the trail arm is the top. You just leave the top arm right at the side of your hips and you just flutter kick. So it's real similar to turtlebacking. If you haven't seen what turtlebacking is, check this out. I got you covered today um, on the types of swims that you will see throughout this journey, depending on what branch of service you're in. So this is once again swimming with fins. And this is one of our workouts we like to do. In fact, today we did it. It's 75 yards of swimming with fins, CSS. So you do 3 lengths, and then your last length, instead of resting, you just get on your back and you breathe, constant flutter kicks. So 3 fast, 1 on your back, catch your breath while you're moving and doing constant flutter kicks, and you got yourself a turtleback. And why do you need to do turtlebacking? Um, you won't really see turtlebacking until a lot later in your training, like second phase. And we actually call it turtlebacking because you got a dragger on your chest. And instead of being on oxygen and underwater swimming, which is what you're trying to do, you're saving some of that oxygen and swimming some of that distance on the surface. So, depending on how long you have to swim underwater, you have plenty of time to do that to get down and back. So, let's say your insertion, you know, location is 2 miles away from the target. You're going to turtleback the first mile, probably dive the second mile, get under the target, do what you got to do, swim, scuba dive another mile away from the target, come back up and turtleback, whenever you run out of O2 on that rebreather, um, and you turtleback to extraction. So that is how it is used in dive phase. So how we doing over there? You guys got any questions for me? That was a lot of videos I just showed in one shot. So I do have quite a bit to do today, so I might have to cut it short, but I do have a little bit of time to answer some questions if you have them. Just remember, if you think of a question later, you can always email me right here. This email address down here at the bottom, stu@stewsmith.com. But you can also check out stewsmithfitness.com. Use the Live15 for sticking around here. Live15 saves you 15% on books and ebooks. So check it out. That's okay. Sometimes asking nothing is better than asking something. It's quite all right. Seriously, you know, you can ask Google some questions if you think it's stupid. You might be able to find that answer. Or put my name in that Google search, and I've probably written about it already. In fact, let's try it. Do I have to go to boot camp before going to SEAL training? Wow. Yeah, if you're a recruit, you'll be required to take and pass. Yeah, that's old school. A little bit old. Oh, a lot of them on Quora. In fact, if you want to see a whole bunch of stupid questions, just go to Reddit or Quora. They'll fill you in over there. Plenty of stupid questions over there. In fact, somebody asked this April 27th in 2019. Do you have to go to regular boot camp to go to Navy SEAL training? Someone answered, yes, you have to go to boot camp first, no matter what job you're doing in the Navy. It is part of indoctrination training. But I will tell you one thing, it's not a completely stupid question because I did not go to Navy boot camp, right? I went the officer route. I went to the Naval Academy. There's some people who go ROTC. They don't go to Navy boot camp. If you go the officer route, you're not going to go through Navy boot camp to get to buds. So I take it back. It's not a completely stupid question because officers have a different indoctrination process than enlisted guys. Still sucks. Mine was 4 years long. But it was a good deal because it prepared me well. Um, yes, but seriously, I've written over 1,200 articles, and I've probably written about what question you have to ask. But some of them I have not. And you guys give me ideas for articles. In fact, the article I wrote uh, for today was from last week's video questions. Somebody needed help with run and swim, could crush the PST. I can't remember the guy's name that asked it. Maybe Dan. I'm not sure. But anyway, he was on there earlier. Any particular reason why Air Force uses the lead on trail arm stroke instead of CSS or turtleback? Saw your reel yesterday and played around with LATA a bit this morning in my swim. I don't really know, to be honest. It is a very streamlined way to kick. I will say the only way we use turtlebacking is when we have scuba gear on and we're dragging equipment. Lead arm, trail arm, you can do that one. I would recommend doing that one if you don't have scuba gear on. So it's a good stroke. I mean, I personally like the CSS if I'm not dragging a lot of equipment, but if I can't use one arm because I'm holding on to something, that lead arm, trail arm works real well. So, but it's just one of those strokes that uh, they stress in the Air Force Special Warfare pipeline. Though I know you can do CSS at some point. They just prefer the lead arm, trail arm option. Not sure why. I'm not sure why it's CSS with SEALs and not the lead arm, trail arm. Just the way it's been. Don't have a good answer for that one. But I like all of them. So practice all of them. I think they're great. There may be a day when you have a bad shoulder, right? So you put that bad shoulder on top and just let it hang, and you can use that bottom arm to kind of help you rotate to breathe and use your legs to kick. Can actually get somewhere even with a bad shoulder. Maybe interfering with your swimming ability. You can still get in the water. All right. Well, I am sorry I had to leave early today and start early today. It's just one of those little busier days than I had anticipated. But gonna get it done. So I guess that's it, folks. Appreciate your time. Hope you got something out of this. Raul, I was just messing with you. Not a stupid question. But thanks for asking it anyway. All right, guys. I will chat with you later. You guys have a good one.